Witness an unforgettable showcase of beauty, talent, culture, and intelligence as Caribbean queens compete for the prestigious crown. Cheer on Nevis's reigning Culturama queen, Renee Davis, and St. Kitts' reigning National Carnival queen, Treasure Didier, along with an outstanding cast of Caribbean royalties. But the excitement doesn't end there. Your ticket also gives you 5 chances to win the Bank of Nevis $5,000 raffle, with 5 lucky winners each taking home $1,000. It's one incredible night packed with entertainment, glamour, and the chance to walk away a winner. General admission is just $50, or upgrade the VIP experience for only $350. Don't miss one of the biggest nights of Culturama 52. Be there.
And she's royal, yeah, so royal.
Friday's calling, and it's calling for a Guinness. Every Friday, it's Guinness Happy Hour at Champions Bar and Last Lap, 5 p.m. to 6:30. Buy one Guinness, get one free. 2 stouts for the price of one. 1 hour and a half. 0 excuses. Guinness. Drink responsibly.
Has your phone been dropped, cracked, stopped charging, or suffered water damage? Don't replace it. Repair it with K&P Phone Accessories and Repairs. We repair major brands, including iPhone and Samsung, and specialize in screen replacements, battery replacements, charging port repairs, speaker repairs, water damage repairs, and the phone unlocking. Too busy to visit us? We will come to you. For only $50 EC, we will travel to your location, diagnose your phone or device, and whenever possible, repair it right in front of you. Perfect for busy customers and anyone who prefers the added security of keeping their phone in sight during the repair. Need accessories? We also stock phone cases, screen protectors, chargers, headphone, and so much more. Visit us opposite the West Bus Terminal on the Bay Road, Basseterre, in between the Food Center and Island Bakery. We are open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call or WhatsApp us at 669-0207. That's 669-0207. K&P Phone Accessories and more. You break it, we fix it.
Make your way to the NEDAX Cultural Complex on Monday, August 3rd at 8:30 p.m. for the spectacular 2026 staging of the Bank of Nevis Miss Caribbean Culture Queen Pageant. Witness an unforgettable showcase of beauty, talent, culture, and intelligence as Caribbean queens compete for the prestigious crown. Cheer on Nevis's reigning Culturama queen, Renee Davis, and St. Kitts' reigning National Carnival queen, Treasure Didier, along with an outstanding cast of Caribbean royalties. But the excitement doesn't end there. Your ticket also gives you 5 chances to win the Bank of Nevis $5,000 raffle, with 5 lucky winners each taking home $1,000. It's one incredible night packed with entertainment, glamour, and the chance to walk away a winner. General admission is just $50, or upgrade the VIP experience for only $350. Don't miss one of the biggest nights of Culturama 52. Be there.
And she's royal, yeah, so royal.
Friday's calling, and it's calling for a Guinness. Every Friday, it's Guinness Happy Hour at Champions Bar and Last Lap, 5 p.m. to 6:30. Buy one Guinness, get one free. 2 stouts for the price of one. 1 hour and a half. 0 excuses. Guinness. Drink responsibly.
It's 11 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock right here in the studios of Freedom FM. And no, Coach Adrian is not here as yet, but we do have some important information, financial information, if you will, to share with the general public. So we have two ladies here and a gentleman, and they are here from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. We have Ms. Tracy Polius. She is Chief Director of Policy, and we have Mr. Giovanni Brown. He is Bank Examiner, and we have no stranger to the studios of Freedom FM, Ms. Patrice Harris. Patrice with a soft P today. As she's here in her professional capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
You're doing well.
Okay,
Very good.
So today we are bringing you again some very important information, and we are speaking about the opening of the Office of Financial Conduct. That is where we're going to start, and then we'll, dig a little deeper. So let's start with that. What is the Office of Financial Conduct? Why is this so important?
So the Office of Financial Conduct will be a department at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, your central bank, and that department will be responsible for what we call market conduct regulation. Now, what is market conduct regulation? Market conduct regulation is the extent to which your bank or your licensed financial institution treats you fairly, the extent to which they provide you with adequate information so you could make decisions for yourself and your family, the extent to which they allow opportunities to handle your complaints when and if they arise, the extent to which they provide redress when you have complaints with them, the extent to which they are transparent in the way they do business. So the OFC, that is the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, will be examining all of that to ensure that consumers are protected when they are engaging within the banking system.
Awesome, because we have lots of complaints with the banking system. We often hear those complaints. So when will this office be open?
We hope to launch this office in September 2026. And
so just a few weeks away.
And what gives rise to this office, what gives us the authority to do that work, is what we call amendments that we made to the Banking Act. They have been passed in St. Kitts Nevis, and these amendments are what will give ECCB the power for market conduct regulation. And under the Banking Act, the ECCB will have power to issue what we call codes of conduct. And these are really guidelines to the bank. They will have force of law. These will be issued to the banks on different areas of banking activity. For instance, treatment of suspected incidents of fraud and scams. We've been hearing a lot about that. Complaints handling, which is a major area and a major aspect of the work of the Office of Financial Conduct. And we could talk a little bit about that as well. Treatment of customers, that is fair treatment of customers. Access and inclusion, how people of different backgrounds, ethnicities, abilities, physically challenged, neurodivergent, all of those people can have access and have a right to get financial services under the Banking Act. So the office will be issuing codes of conduct on all of those areas. We have a minimum of about 15 at this time that we will issue over time, of course, gradually to the banks to ensure that consumers are protected. But I think before we go on, one of those that I think is very important now in this environment really relates to the treatment of suspected incidents of frauds and scams. And because these are rising, in fact, last week we held jointly with the Antigua and Barbuda Bankers Association a town hall on frauds and scams, the pervasiveness of that across in Antigua and Barbuda at that time. So I think our colleague should talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the market related to frauds and scams, and then we could pivot back to the OFC.
So Mr. Brown, I heard from someone last week. Someone called into Freedom last week, and he said to us that he wants to take a loan because somebody called him and told him that he had won some money. but he had to send them some money first, right? And he was like asking, where should I take this loan? Because I went to my bank and the bank refused to give me the loan for that, right? So I had to explain to him, sir, this is not true. It's a fraud, that kind of thing. So, what are some of the scams that you're seeing?
I'm happy that you would have brought that example to the fore, because that is what we would call a phishing scam. At this present point in time, there's a lot of different types of scam, and I think at the last seminar that was had, the town hall meeting, it was even re-emphasized that we have an phishing problem. And I promise you that is not an expletive. It is just what it is presently. Because there's phishing, there's smishing, quishing, and phishing.
What's the difference?
There we go. I'm also happy that you asked. And it has become something that has become prevalent in our space. And it's unfortunate, but it's the reality that we have to deal with. So it's just for us to try to be as preventative as we can, avoid it before we actually have to get in and try to rectify it after. So that instance that you mentioned there was phishing. That is where they use voice, hence the V.
Okay.
So they try to impersonate persons. They would also try to give a sense of urgency that this is important. You have to do it as soon as possible.
Because they said to him that if you don't send the money as soon as possible, you're going to lose your winnings. And I'm like, well, just tell them take the winnings out of what they take their money out of what they want.
Yeah.
And I often like to say, and I've often been told as well, if something appears to be too good to be true, it possibly is.
Yes.
So it's for you to make yourself as wise as possible, and don't let your moment of need or what seems to be an opportunity get the better of you. Take your time, think, does this really make sense? Why would you just be giving me these winnings? And why do I have to send money to you to get winnings?
Did you play anything?
Did you play anything? Where did this start? Where did you get my information? There's a lot of questions, and you have more questions than answers. So if you still found yourself asking more questions, then really and truly, is this something that you want to go forward with? And I'd go further again, for those who are more technologically savvy, there's the phishing. We now live in a world where everything is tied to our emails. You go on the internet, you sign up for something, you have to give them your email to get a username, etc. Some of these bad persons or bad actors, as we say, they get your information, and they sometimes it's random as well, because they may be able to put your email in a list and just run it and just have those emails sent randomly to you. That is what you call phishing. So they're trying to throw the bait to as much persons as possible and to see if they could be captured by that bait. And sometimes just the same that they would call you and say that you've won how much ever it is, or you're some distant prince who they're now reconnecting with. It may come in the form as well sometimes as a romance scam, where this person loves you and you're the best thing that they ever met.
Yes, we hear a lot about those things as well. Yes.
And then you volunteer information to these people, and they use it against you, take your hard-earned money, and have nothing to offer you in return other than despair.
I know of a situation where a gentleman was sending money to a woman, quote unquote, who he had never seen, he had never spoken to, nothing. Just, somebody reached out to him via email, told him that they're in love with him, sent him a few pictures, and he was just sending her almost his entire salary.
Yes. So we've covered the vision, which we spoke about the voice. We've covered the phishing briefly with the emails. There's also what has become more prevalent, the smishing, which is via text message. SMS is the official name for text messages, hence the reason why it's coined the term smishing. So with the smishing, they would send you, similarly to the voice calls, they would send you a message asking you to enter your information, or the bank is asking you to, please, in a hurry, there has been this charge credited to your account, and we're trying to rectify the issue. Please sign in and rectify this as soon as possible.
Yes.
Once more, sometimes there's always a sense of urgency to try to play on your emotions. And from what we've been told as well, or what we've seen, they try to utilize real life circumstances or real life scenarios. So, for instance, if there's a power outage or there's some sort of national disaster, they try to bake those things into the communication to make it as believable as possible.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, the main goal here is to capture your information, to act on your behalf, and to defraud you of your hard-earned funds.
Okay, so now I've got to ask, if I become victim, well, not become victim, but if an attempt is made to, make me a victim of some sort of fraud, what should I do?
Well, two things. Well, I'm happy that you said attempted, because that is the more positive outcome. That means they were unsuccessful.
Yes.
And
That means I figured it out, so what do I do next?
So, first thing, you would want to change the access to your information.
Okay.
Contact the financial institution as well. And make them aware of this attempted incident, so they would also be able to take action behind the scenes, because not everything is going to be communicated to the customer, but on the back end, all of these customers who make these different reports, that information now would be able to paint a better picture and be able to assist the bank, and not just that bank, but all financial institutions in the grand scheme of things, on what is present and what measures need to be put in place to avoid a repeat of this circumstance. And if I may dare say, the mere fact that we're here speaking is a fact that is being taken place. Because if the outcry is enough, and going back to the Office of Financial Conduct,
Yes.
that the clients have an avenue to make those complaints, and actions would be put in place to mitigate or rectify the issue at hand. So persons are encouraged to make those necessary changes as much as they possibly can to lock out the person, because if they have access, you want to cut that access as soon as possible.
Definitely.
Getting onto the bank may be able to do that much faster than you, because they may be able to freeze the account immediately. If it is a case where, unfortunately, they were successful, you will now have to bring in law enforcement into the story, because at the end of the day, it is a crime. If I've taken funds from your account without your permission, it's a crime. So you now have to look. That's why I say the better part is having the attempt.
Yes.
But we don't live in a perfect world, and unfortunately, sometimes not everybody gets away with just an attempt. We have persons who sometimes lose their entire life savings. They've been working very hard for years and years and have plans to utilize these funds for specific things. And unfortunately, they've been defrauded. You need to contact the bank as soon as possible. You also need to contact law enforcement as soon as possible.
Okay. So that's one aspect of the office. Now we want to go to Patrice and speak a little bit about making complaints against banking institutions.
Just before Patrice comes in, I wanted to add a little bit to what Giovanni has said. Just one more thing, that people need to be very alert and verify. Keep verifying. You get an email from your financial institution stating that you have to click this link to put in your credentials. Verify. Your financial institution will never ask you to do that, but verify. Call.
I think that
Please
is important.
verify
that
with
point
your
that
financial
you just
institution.
made, saying that your financial institution will never ask you to do that, because sometimes people go as far as to clone the website of a banking institution, so it all looks very legitimate.
Correct.
Right? But you have to understand what your banking institution would ask you to do.
Correct.
Okay, so Patrice.
All right. Ahead of the launch of the Office of Financial Conduct, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, in collaboration with the banks, the licensed financial institutions throughout the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, we're working collaboratively to launch a Bank Smart campaign. Now, this Bank Smart campaign outlines some rights and responsibilities for consumers of banks. We do understand that banks have an enormous amount of rights and responsibilities as it relates to how they conduct business. But we also want customers of banks to understand that you too have rights and responsibilities in particular when it comes to the financial sector and the banking environment. So firstly, some of these bank rights and responsibilities include ensuring that you have up-to-date information at the bank. I know it seems tedious at times to when your driver's license has expired or the identification that the bank has for you has expired to update that. But it's extremely necessary for banks to have updated information. Another responsibility of the consumer is to ensure that you are checking your bank statements, monitoring the transactions on your accounts, and not only debits, meaning payments that are made, but money that is received into your bank account, because this allows the banks and the central banks as well to help to monitor any suspicious or fraudulent activity that might be taking place. And also, in the event that there is indeed an activity that is fraudulent that has taken place on your account, that not because you checked your accounts 3 months later, that is when you would have recognized that this hit took place. So we want consumers of banks to be a lot more responsible. Check your accounts regularly. Is there something there that looks fishy? And if you have to question it, reach out to your bank right away, because
people don't usually question money coming in.
You ought to.
Generally speaking, but let's be realistic.
It's very important
people,
now.
It is. It
There's
is.
now the phenomenon of what we call money mules. And Giovanni could expand. So could they update your credentials, that money they place on your account, and then they ask you if you could take out that money, withdraw that money, and they'll probably allow you to keep a small percentage, like 10%. So this is a new phenomenon.
You've won the lotto.
Yeah, but this is actually sometimes money that they've taken from somebody else that they're passing through your account. And if you are acting as per the instruction, then you also become complicit, and you also are helping them to commit a crime, and you are committing a crime. So it's actually very important that you monitor that aspect of it as well. So that's where the AML beats the consumer protection.
So yes, I know we'll get excited to see a little extra cha-ching in our accounts, but that's quite, yes, a little sugar cake according to my good friend Ike. Good afternoon, Ike. I miss you here at Freedom today, but I love Jamie too. But yes, and what we also want the customers of banks to be mindful of, and it's something that in our conversations with banks, because we have been going to the different islands throughout the ECCB and consulting with banks, so we're not just putting this change and launching this office without having heard from banks. And prior to meeting with banks, we would have met with a large stakeholder groups. So disabled persons, will have met with insurance companies, young persons, NGOs, a very extensive list. But what I wanted to mention here is the fact that we want customers to be respectful to the employees of the banks. Regardless of what the situation is, it is not a green light or a green flag to go in and show your worst behavior. We really want you to be respectful to the employees of the bank. So it's a comprehensive list of rights and responsibilities that we're going to launch within the next 3 weeks ahead of the launch of the Office of Financial Conduct, because we do recognize that public awareness and sensitization will help to improve behavior, and it will also help to improve understanding as to reduce any challenges that might come about in the future. So that's my role that I've been playing in this entire campaign, to increase the level of public awareness and sensitization, to let persons know, hey, this is what you need to do. But in the event that something does happen, Central Bank now does have an official avenue through the Office of Financial Conduct where you can issue your complaints. And Tracy will walk us through how that process of issuing complaints works.
Okay. And somebody sent a message for you, actually. The person said that you're very humble because you didn't say that your name starts with doctor.
Because my name is Tracy.
Yes. So let's walk through.
Right, so walking through complaints handling process. So one of the key areas of the OFC will be to look at how we'll have a work stream called alternative dispute resolution or complaint handling process. So that work stream will allow customers to handle their complaints, adjudicate their complaints with banks free of cost. So the first stage is all banks under the legislation will be required to establish a complaint handling process. And that will include a point of contact who they have to go to. There will be a tracking process, so the banks will be required to track the complaints, and they will adjudicate on the complaints. And if the customer is not satisfied with the outcome, after they've gone to their bank, they can now come to the ECCB.
Okay.
They will file a complaint with the ECCB. Once we launch, we will have what you call a web portal or an application that people could download from the Play Store on their phone, and you could file your complaint using that, and that complaint will be tracked. We will investigate at the ECCB. We may have to call the customer for further information. We may have to call the bank for further information, request that they send documentation to us, and we will adjudicate. So that is the second level. If the customer is still not happy with the outcome of this process, we have a third level. It's called the Financial Dispute Resolution Commission. So that Financial Dispute Resolution Commission, it's like an appeals board or a tribunal. It will be comprised of 3 persons. One, nominated by the ECCB Bankers Association, so that means the bankers will have their report there, and a second nominated by the regulator, which is the ECCB. There will be a third joint nominee that both the ECCB and the Bankers Association will agree to. That third person will be an attorney at law with more than 10 years experience, and that third person will be the chair of the Dispute Resolution Commission. There is, under the law, qualified criteria for all of the representatives, and it's set out in the legislation what qualifies them, right? And you could send, so you're not happy with the ECCB, you send that complaint to the FDRC. The FDRC will adjudicate. If you're still not happy with that third level, you have 28 days to which you could appeal to the court. But of course, when you go to the court, you have to perhaps hire an attorney, and it is cost. So we're trying in the first 3 levels to get you to have a resolution which would be free of cost. And we hope that most customers would have been satisfied over the 3 levels. So that is a summary of the complaints handling process. But we have other work streams with the OFC. We have a financial and digital literacy work stream. So we recognize the reason why the scams are so successful. The level of digital literacy is very low. Not only in St. Kitts Nevis, but across the currency union. So we want to ramp that up. We want to improve digital hygiene and digital literacy, and also improve financial literacy, so we could make our money work better for us in the Eastern Caribbean. So that's the second work stream. The third is on-site, off-site examination. He said he's an examiner. He's a bank examiner. So in similar way, they will be looking at the books of the banks to make sure that the consumers have been protected, that their policies are targeted towards consumer protection, and they are doing what they need to do to ensure that customers are treated fairly. So that's on-site, off-site. And then the final one is regulatory policy, where you are developing policies to regulate. It seems simple, but you're monitoring the market, you're looking at what's happening, and then you're adapting your regulation to ensure that consumer protection is happening. So this is, in summary, is the work of the OFC.
Okay, fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Now, we are over time because Coach Adrian is already outside, but I want to give you the opportunity to present your final words to our listeners. Giovanni, you want to go first?
Oh, yes, thank you very much.
You're the only man here.
Usually it's ladies first, but I appreciate the courtesy. But I just want to emphasize that, as Dr. Polius was saying a moment ago, the system that they have initiated with the mules is something that persons need to be very careful of. You could be a willing mule or you could be an unwilling mule. Hence the reason why you need to look at your financial activity, because persons could have hijacked your account before and actually been using your account to facilitate some of this. You don't want to be a part of that, you understand? And also for the persons who may be willing, it may seem to be beneficial to you to get this little bit of extra money at the beginning, and okay, you're making some money from this. But really and truly, do you want to be answering questions from law enforcement as to why this happened and be part of defrauding people? You know, it just is something that should not sit right with you. But even though some persons may not necessarily think of it that way, be mindful that this is something that could put you in some serious hot water, as we say. And if the water gets too hot, you're going to burn.
Jail. We're talking about prison time. Okay. Patrice?
We want to implore upon the public to remain in contact with the central bank and with your banks in general. If something does look suspicious, if you are a bit unsure, if you have questions, we want to be the authority that speaks on these matters. So I'm a bit concerned about the gentleman having been denied the loan at the bank and still trying to pursue avenues to get
the lady
this
at
money.
the bank actually told him, it's a scam, but he said, they just don't want poor people get through.
And that is why, Jimmy, these are the reasons why we are here, because we realize that we have to ramp up the awareness to educate persons as to what we're seeing throughout the region. A few years ago, this might have seemed a bit American or uncommon, metropolitan, but now it's right here at our doorstep. And if you have any questions and if you want to reach out to the central bank ahead of the launch of the OFC, you can reach out to us at info@ECCB-centralbank.org, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And we already do deal with some complaints, so you can issue complaints there, but we'll definitely be back closer to the time of the launch or after the launch, and you will be hearing a lot more of from the Office of Financial Conduct, which is a consumer protection tool. So it's designed to help consumers. So thank you, Jamie, for accepting our request to be on air today. And again, we are here to help you. We are your central bank.
Fantastic. And Dr. Tracy?
Yeah, so in summary, I want to say, when we were growing up in the 1980s and the 1970s, our community, we were very community oriented, and everybody looked out for everybody. Right now, in 2026, nobody loves you so much. You don't have some grandparent way back in Nigeria who loves you and is who dead and leave this money for you. There's nobody. So when we see those things occurring and they seem too good to be true, they really are too good to be true. So we're asking people to be vigilant, be responsible citizens, and we'll be rolling out the Bank Smart campaigns. And we know you have rights under the Banking Act, but with that right comes responsibilities. And we are looking forward to launching the Office of Financial Conduct to serve you as your central bank. So thank you very much for having us, Jamie, and we look forward to engaging with you again.
Definitely. You guys will be back on after the launch to tell us how we go about, to really educate us about how we go about making those reports, and if we need to make any complaints, how to go about doing that as well. Thank you so much for being here. Coming up next on Freedom FM, we have Issues hosted by Coach Adrian.
Make your way to the NEDAX Cultural Complex on Monday, August 3rd at 8:30 p.m. for the spectacular 2026 staging of the Bank of Nevis Miss Caribbean Culture Queen pageant. Witness an unforgettable showcase of beauty, talent, culture, and intelligence as Caribbean queens compete for the prestigious crown.